Hi, this is Stu and Kendall. We're in the K West Hotel, which is in Kensington, and we are with legendary bassman, Mr. Kasim Sulton. Kasim, hi.
Hello everyone, how are you? It's good to see you.
And
good
you,
to
sir.
be here. Yep.
Well, it's wonderful to have you here because we are huge protagonists of the general Todd Rundgren Tubes thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're in that camp, which is quite rare in England, but we are spreading the word.
Yeah.
Now, Kasim, would you like to tell us why you're in London today and what you're doing today?
Well, we're here for a show. We've been touring kind of scattered since September. Todd's decided to do one of his records from start to finish. Was it a true star? So we've been working. We did about 8 shows in the States, and now there's 2 shows, one show in London, one show in Amsterdam, and we do, actually there's an opening act that involves Todd and myself.
Is this what's referred to as Newtopia?
No, that was just a one-time thing that when Roger Powell was involved with this initially, and since it was myself, Roger, and Todd, we thought it would be good to do some Utopia material. So we started the show with about 40 minutes of Utopia stuff. But since Roger dropped out, now Ralph Shuckett, the keyboard player who was the original keyboard player on A Was It a True Star, he came in, so it didn't really make a lot of sense for us to do Utopia material.
Is he with you today?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ralph was here.
Ralph's
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. I'd like to ask you, particularly, what was your favourite tour or gig? We saw you at Nebworth, and you know that was great.
Yeah, well, actually, a lot of people ask me that, and invariably my answer is Nebworth, because I had just joined the band maybe not even 6 months before that. It was one of the first really large shows that I had done, and I was all of 21 years old or 20 years old, and playing in front of 100,000 people.
Well, it must have been a rush, actually.
Yeah, and I think that first one was it the Rolling Stones, or was it?
No, I can tell you exactly
It was
who they
NCC?
were, because no.
It was
Because
Led Zeppelin.
It was
It
Led
was
Zeppelin
Led
both
Zeppelin.
weeks. Yeah, it was Led Zeppelin's show. You were on with Utopia for the 2 weeks running, wearing, if I remember, some awful pink spandex outfits, I believe.
Yeah, I forget. Yeah, I think I had a red jumpsuit on, a red parachute jumpsuit, I believe.
This was the
But perhaps
first
it's
time I ever
best to
saw
forget.
them.
Yeah, well, yeah, at the time it seemed like a good
I know,
idea.
I know. But it was a really good show, and I had posters of you guys all up around my bedroom.
Oh wow!
I know.
Oh, cool.
It's kind of cool. The Joan Jett.
Yeah,
Did you enjoy that?
I love playing with Joan. Joan is there is no one that does what Joan does. She is the only one.
Is
I mean,
that a
there are
mercy or?
Well, and it actually, you know, I mean, there have been copy girls. There have been, like, Susie Quattro was one of the originals.
Absolutely.
And then there were probably a few others, but the Runaways was, I think, the first all-girl punk band that became successful. And then obviously Joan had a huge hit with I Love Rock and Roll after she left the Runaways. And you know, we're all that New York. There's a New York vibe and a clique, even though Joan is from the West Coast originally. I've known Joan since the early '80s, and Tommy Price, who's a very, very good friend of mine, was working with her, and she needed a bass player again, and I just jumped at the chance to work with her, and then for 3.5 years I was a Blackheart. And
That's so cool.
It was one of the better times that I've had.
So why have I got Sean Cassidy written
Well,
down?
Todd produced one of Sean's records called Wasp, and I played bass on.
Oh right. How was he? What was he like?
Sean's great. He's a really wonderful guy. He's a big time movie and television producer now.
Okay, here's one of my personal questions. In Just One Victory, you know you are going to do it tonight, aren't you?
Maybe.
It has to be done. It's
It
on the
has
album.
to be done.
It's on
If
the
not,
album,
I will
isn't
throw,
it? Yeah.
If not, I'll throw Rotten Fruits at
Okay.
you. Okay, because it's one of my faves. But I love it when you and Todd do that hand clapping thing.
Oh, okay.
And miss on purpose.
Yes, and sometimes one of you will swipe away.
Well, we don't really do that.
Gotcha.
There's too many people on stage to do that, but we do. There is that part of the song. Yeah.
Because you did it in the Suits tour.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the Suits tour?
Yeah.
And the Camouflage tour. Mm-hmm. Trust me, I'm a bit of a nerd
we always did
on
that
this.
song. Yeah.
Yeah. But that is so good because you're just smiling at each other. And, and it brings out the feeling of the song. And do you think that's a nice song?
Oh, I love that song. Yeah, it's
Out
a great
of all
song.
the Utopia songs, which one?
Which song do
Which
I like
one
the
would
best?
you-
I don't think I really have a favorite. I mean,
Now, I thought you'd say Set Me Free there.
it would be kind of like saying, if you have 15 children, which one do you like the best?
I know. I know. We played last week in a build-up to this. We played one of yours. Was it Somebody Love Me? That one.
Feels like someone.
First track on Kasim.
Yeah.
Someone to Love.
Someone to Love.
That's the
yeah.
one.
We played that. We've played More Light.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
cool.
Talking You Up.
Uh-huh.
Oh no, we
see.
featured you one night and played songs that you were
great.
singing on.
Okay.
Yeah. I wondered which one you sang on that you particularly enjoyed.
My favorite Utopia song that I sang was on Oblivion. It's called "I Will Wait."
I know it.
Oh yeah.
I will wait for it forever.
Yeah.
That's my favorite
That's
Utopia
great.
song.
I like the one
sang.
about Brother John though.
Trapped.
Poor Brother
Yeah.
John.
Yeah. Well, John the Baptist.
Yeah. So you're going on to Amsterdam,
Yes.
and is that finishing after Amsterdam?
Yeah, it's a big
Yeah.
2-city tour.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's nice to take it easy. So apart from making fruit pies, what else do you do?
Apart from making fruit pies, I kind of just putz around my house, and I'm known to cook dinner, and I just run a taxi service for my children. Actually, I'm sure you know.
Yeah, you know that
Yeah.
feeling.
No? Well, we have to do something about it.
Kasim, tonight you're playing at the HMV Hammersmith Apollo.
Uh-huh.
Have you played there before?
Yes, I have.
When?
I played there with Hall & Oates in 1991, I think, or 90. Yeah, either 90 or 91. And I think I've played there with Todd before.
You have.
Yeah.
Utopia played it, but
Yeah.
it wasn't called that. It was called the Hammersmith Odeon.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, it's always called Hammersmith. Blah 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 blah. Yeah.
But it's still always technically the Hammersmith.
Right,
Odeon,
exactly, yeah.
You know. So after these two gigs, what are your next intentions?
Well, like I said, I'm starting a new record, a new solo record, and I should be ready to start recording sometime in the middle of February. There's also a new Meatloaf record that's coming out that I'm probably going to be touring behind with him over the summer. And, my year looks pretty busy.
That's cool.
So, I don't know.
So, have you got to say anything to the listeners of HFM who we have been barraging with
Well,
your
I mean,
music?
I say the same thing all the time, it's, and that's that if it wasn't for you guys, I would be cooking a lot more than I am right now.
Well,
I really appreciate. I mean,
you can bring dinner around any time. We are real, big enthusiasts on this, and we've had such good feedback
Yeah.
from the stuff we play. We get emails from around the world. Our little radio station, Harbour HFM. We have international listeners, and we get emails saying, "Oh man, I can't believe you're playing Utopia," or "I can't believe you're playing
Yeah.
the Tubes," or "I can't believe," just stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because they can't get it on normal radio,
Right.
where everything sounds the same.
Yeah,
You know?
it's a shame too, because we have a lot of fans, worldwide. Unfortunately, it's a very, very small community, and that's why we don't do more shows in Europe, and that's why we don't go to Japan more often, or Australia, or or continental Europe, or we don't play in the UK as much. And really, there are certain areas in the United States that we don't really do a lot of work in.
But your fans are hardcore, aren't
yeah,
they?
absolutely, and
once a fan, always a fan.
Yeah, and I'm blessed to have every single one of them. I really am.
Well, that's all excellent. By the way, what was it like in Japan?
I've
never been, so I'm just asking out of nosiness.
It's totally a different world than here. It's as much as it could be any city. It's still the culture and the people and the way they go about things. There's no other place like it in the world. There's no word in Japan for no. They do not have a word that means no. What they do is instead is say, yes, we cannot do that. Or,
that's
yes,
a very good attitude.
Yes, that cannot happen. Or, yes, we will not.
Okay, now Stu, you wanted to ask Kasim more about the record side of things.
Not really. I'm more than happy with. I'd just like to say, Kasim, thank you so much for doing this interview.
Not boring.
Thank you very much for doing this. Ladies and gentlemen, please say hi to the great, the one and only, Mr. Kasim Sulton.